Chairman, I'm happy to report for the record that my sister does remember my birthday, but my brothers do not. On that same line, though, Dr. Casado, you can have the best technology in the world, you can have great training, but if employees are negligent in their use of it, you're still exposing yourself. And I bring this up in the context of an article that was in the Wall Street Journal back June 9th, and it relates to the fact that the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency had sent a memo to their employees in 2011 because they had seen an uptick in cyber attacks related to employees using the federal website, federal server to access their personal websites or their personal email. Unfortunately, the labor union filed a grievance and prevented them from doing that, and that's apparently where one of the breaches occurred later that last year. And my question is, and this would be both for corporations and for the federal government, does it make sense to prevent employees, either in the private sector or in the government sector, from using their company servers or the federal servers to access personal information, their personal servers, their personal websites, their emails?
Just very quickly, I mean, it seems to me IT goes through these phases where it kind of collapses and expands. I mean, we had mainframes, and they went to a whole bunch of computers, and they collapsed recently. Now they're expanding again. You've got mobile, iPhones, clouds, all of this other stuff. I think it's unrealistic from a day-to-day perspective, from an innovation perspective, to assume people at work aren't accessing outside information and people outside aren't accessing work information. Every time I travel, I am constantly connected, no matter where I go, whether it's vacation or not. And so I think we need to assume that this information is going to be accessed no matter where they are or what capacity that we're running under.
Mr. Clinton.
Mr. Palmer, I agree with Dr. Casado's comments, particularly with respect to millennials. If you adopt that kind of workforce policy, you're probably not going to be having much of a workforce left to deal with. But I do think that there are things that we can do, and we are doing in some in the private sector. So one of the things we're trying to do is move out of this IT-centric notion of cybersecurity and, for example, involve the human resources departments in this. And what we're advocating, and we're seeing some success with, is that we are integrating good cybersecurity policy into the employee evaluation system so that, if you have downloaded things you shouldn't be downloading, you are less likely to get that step-up increase or that bonus at the end of the year. We've got to make this part of the overall process. And there are other things that we can do, and we are seeing adapted in the private sector, such as having separate rooms with separate equipment so that people can, access their personal information or their data without using the corporate system. And so I think if we are a little bit more inventive about this and use that more incentive model, we're probably going to have more success.
I think that's a great point, because you could have a public access, a separate environment where people could do that, but they have to use it. Because, for instance, if you'd been a federal employee, Dr. Casado, and you had opened that email from your sister through the federal mainframe, would that have potentially infected?
Yeah, so I've worked in a SCIF. I had 4 computers. They would measure like how far apart they were. So I'm very, very comfortable in these like high secure environments. I just think if you want to be competitive from a business perspective against other companies, you have to assume that your employees are going to be fully connected at all times.
But can you not create a separate environment?
I don't think you can do this without having an operational overhead. I really don't. I think you will limit the ability for the business to function.
Mr. Wood, you wanted to comment?
Yes, sir. I would just want to follow up on what Dr. Casado said. So as the use of the internet increases and as the, quote, Internet of Things becomes more prolific, everything has an IP address. So where do you draw the line? At some level, I would almost prefer that people use my infrastructure because I know what we do from a security perspective. I don't know what they do from a security perspective. And so to the extent that, you make the argument that says there should be some separation, I think there are very good arguments on both sides. I'd rather have them in my infrastructure because I know what we do. Thank you, sir.
I think the approach that makes a huge amount of sense when you think about all this connectivity is to really understand and protect the information and the identities of the folks that are trying to access it, And that's really what we've seen in security over the last, 5+ years, is this move towards not just protecting systems and networks, but truly understanding the information and the most sensitive information and putting the right kinds of protection around that.
My time has expired, but I do want to thank the witnesses for the clarity of your answers. This has been an excellent hearing. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you. And I now